Hello, my name is Laura Walde. I'm the program coordinator for Internationale Kurzfilmtage Winterthur. I'm also a curator here at the festival, and at the moment it's the fifth day of the festival. So almost at the end already. I cannot believe it. And we're at the festival bar here. It's still quiet because it's morning, and it's my 8th year now with the festival. Not just the thematic programs, actually the main focus in general is always a long time in the making. So we already have ideas for the next 2 to 3 years, and sometimes we will cancel one of the idea completely. Sometimes we feel it's necessary to give priority to an idea that we had only last year and we have to do it right now. Sometimes it's really 2-3 years that we wait until we develop the idea fully. And the ideas are actually generated from, I think, what we see in the selection process for the contemporary current films. So we get inputs from the programmers who do international selection. We also have some people like John Canciani, the artistic director, or also Delphine Janre, who works a lot for Winterthur and does a lot of great programs for us. She is both a programmer in the competition and a curator here. And I think actually the future theme was her idea already like 2 years ago, that she just realized that so many current productions are kind of concerned with where we are heading and what is happening right now and what it has to do with the past and how the past leads us to the future, basically. The last thematic focus we had was the European idea 4 years ago, and we just knew that this year we should really switch back to a thematic program again. Also because we felt that we had the time this year, because thematic programs, I have to say, are much, much harder to research and to curate than doing kind of geographical focus, where you just have a lot of films to watch and then obviously you have to put them into a context that is meaningful. But with a subject or a theme like the future, it can be anything and nothing. So we did a lot of research for this program. It was a lot of work. So now we know that the next 2 focus programs will probably a bit more low-key again, because we cannot do this every year. It would be impossible.
And so Voyager 2 is now a part of history, rocketing into space from its launch pad here at Cape Kennedy on this historic date, August 20th, 1977.
This was actually our aim, that there was a certain kind of coherence between the programs and that the programs would also reference each other, basically, but still their very own individual programs as well, of course. We work in kind of different developmental steps. So at first we really research very, very broadly and read a lot as well. I mean, a lot of the process for developing a thematic program like this is also just reading up on material and on influence and on theory as well. And then I think one important step is to have a first selection of films that are kind of cornerstones and that the curators personally kind of have a strong connection to. You have to start somewhere, right? We have 9 programs in the end, which is quite a lot, but at the beginning, especially I think this year, we had like 21 ideas for programs. Some of them were close enough together that we could actually kind of distill them into one program, and others just had to be completely skipped. Usually it's the first part of the year. We start with research around February already, like December and January we kind of take off and clear our minds, and in February it starts already. And in March we start pitching our individual ideas, we lay it all out on the table, and then we often start building teams. There's just people who have kind of similar sensibilities. I work a lot with Delphine, for example, just because we communicate really well and we kind of click and we know what we are looking for. For us it's also always very important to have a team of curators with these different interests. Because it should be a continuum, but obviously we want different perspectives as well. And there is lots of programs now in the focus I think are amazing, but that I, for example, I could never put them together because I would not know where to start. I think it's always a process of distillation.
I hope I'm allowed when I'm dead.
We always say that programs must have a thesis for us. I think with the future focus it's even more apparent because we even call them hypotheses with the titles that we even gave the programs with the future is, right? It's a statement. We think for the audience basically in the end.
The story of the Golden Record is well known, but most people don't know that it's a love story. On June 1st, 1977.
For the individual filmmakers or for the individual films to be put in all these different contexts, it can be challenging and it can be problematic. What we do is that our curators are responsible. They propose a program and in the end we all watch it, sometimes together, sometimes individually, and we give feedback. So we basically make sure that everybody in the focus team has watched all the films and has given feedback. So there you already have this kind of input from different perspectives, and there it's often like this that question marks arise, like whether is this film really done justice in this program, or should we take it out, or should we couple it with a different film. And then the next step once we finished the program is that the curators themselves will have to contact the filmmakers and clear the rights. And what we do is that we usually write an email and explain about the context of the program, about the idea of the program. Short program text, it's 500 characters. It's not a lot, but they must have this ready by then. And we also tell the filmmakers what the other films will be in the program. Many filmmakers are just happy to be shown, to be honest. But there are some who really ask and want to discuss the whole program, and we're always happy to do that.
You're such a lawyer. You insist on such old-fashioned ideas like facts and evidence. And yet you have so much wonder, so much hope, so much love.
We try to invite as many filmmakers to be present as we can. It's simply a question of budget, like we'd invite everybody if we could. We put in a lot of time and energy to be in contact with the filmmakers, for sure. Also, we make sure that we kind of discuss the trajectory of the talk with them beforehand via email often, and we also usually get in touch with them after they left, just also to check in whether everything was all right. For us it's really important to have the feedback of the filmmakers, yes. The reason we have these little breaks in between films and the light goes on actually is historical, but also current in the sense that we still show analog films, and originally the reason why you would put on the light is format changes, right? And we decided to keep it, to give the audience a moment to breathe and to just, look up, breathe, and then dive back into the next film. Apart from also, of course, structural reasons, it's a good way to let people in and out, because we really want this kind of cinema experience, so you're not to be disrupted while watching a film. And I mean, the maximum time you have to wait is 30 minutes, and we just tell our audience this must be possible. We put in so much time to create the dramaturgy for a program, and sometimes it's for dramaturgical reasons that we kick a film out of the program again, or that we take another one in. There's no recipe. It's kind of gut feeling and experience as well, and sometimes it's very, very clear which film has to be, especially openings and endings. Sometimes it's super clear, other times it's more difficult. This is also the reason why we want all the programs to be watched by the other curators, because sometimes it's also, when you've researched the films and you've watched them so many times, sometimes you also lose a little bit the overview over what is working. It's like when you write a text and then you don't see the typos because you know what you wanted to say. So often we will make little changes and adjustments after we had the feedback of other curators and programmers. We would love to be able to do this for the competitions as well. There we simply don't have time because we finish with the selection on Sundays, and then Wednesday or Thursday we already need to kind of go into print with these little booklets that we have. It's a really tight schedule there. It's interesting that you mentioned this idea of the fewer curatorial inputs, the better for competition. We also make a difference in our vocabulary between focus programs and competition programs, because we say that we curate focus programs, but we say that we program competition programs. We really make this distinction here in Winterthur. This exactly means that the competitions, they are random, sounds negative, but in the end, I mean, it is a little bit random. It's what 8 people thought is the most current, the most pressing, the most interesting productions of the past 1, maximum 2 years. They stand for themselves much more than the films in the curated programs. We started giving titles to the competition programs, I think last year. This is the 2nd year. But this is really also much more for guiding the audience. It's not supposed to represent a thematic input. In competition, we would never put in a film just because it fits a theme or it ties well with other films. The aim is to be as heterogeneous as possible and as diverse as possible for competitions. There's really as little curatorial approach as possible. Short film is a great format to experiment and to also learn. On the other hand, I think especially here in Winterthur, we're really also focused on kind of growing with the people and making a point that they're accomplished filmmakers in their own right and that they're not up and coming. I mean, people like Corinna Schwingruber or Riela Hasler, they're not up and coming filmmakers, they're accomplished directors who just chose to keep on working with the format. And so I think here in Winterthur for us it's really important to kind of reflect both. And in Locarno, it's really just a different approach also in the sense that the regulations are just completely different. But I think in Winterthur, it's just much more diverse. We call them Friends of Kurzfilmtage. Like once you've been in competition here, we will also make sure to track your filmmaking career. So we will make sure that we get the newest films of the directors that have already screened. We keep in touch with them. John Gonciani, the artistic director, often makes sure that he watches as many of the films. We have these 8 programmers for competition, and they will each get a batch of films to kind of go through. And John, for example, spends so much of his time, also of his spare time, really just going through the films of people that are actually in other programmers' batches, but he just wants to make sure to have seen the newest film by XY.
Winterthur.
Also, my academic work is focused on short film. And it's really a fact that I could not write this kind of dissertation that I do if I didn't work for the festival. So it's actually, the dissertation is much more fed out of the work and out of the people I meet here. That's also, I think, why there is so little academic work on short film, because you do not gain access to it if you're not in the industry yourself. So for me, it always kind of went hand in hand. And the academic part, I can discuss it with quite a few people, and then there's also a whole range of people that I would never bring in theory, and I think over time I just kind of learned to read people and to just focus on the facts or bring in some theory late at night at the bar. So I think I just figured it out along the way.